What if the people closest to you, the ones who claim to be your friends, your family, your partners, are hiding something beneath their smiles? What if the very ones you trust the most might not be who they appear to be? In a world where loyalty is often just a mask and kindness is sometimes a strategy, how can you tell who's really with you and who's only in it for what they can get from you? Have you ever felt uneasy around someone and couldn't explain why? Maybe a sense of doubt crept in, but you brushed it off. Or perhaps you've given your all to someone, only to watch them vanish when you needed them the most. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 divine warning signs. 5 unmistakable signs the Holy Spirit gives to help you see through the deception, the manipulation, and the selfishness that can hide in plain sight. These aren't just warnings. They're tools for your spiritual survival. Tools that, when understood and acted upon, can protect your peace, preserve your purpose, and safeguard your future. And trust me, one of these signs may just explain that feeling you've been sensing all along. So, if you've ever wondered who's truly meant to be in your life, stay with me until the end. This message could be the key to unlocking a deeper level of discernment in your relationships, and ultimately in your life. Let's begin. The first sign that the Holy Spirit whispers into your spirit is the opportunist, the person who loves you only when they need something from you. This is the kind of individual who appears at your side during times of prosperity, when your life is filled with blessings, and when you seem to have an abundance of what others desire. Whether it's material wealth, emotional support, or success, they hang around because there's something they can gain from your presence. Yet, when the tides of fortune shift, and when your blessings are no longer as visible, they vanish without a trace. What we must understand here is that this isn't just a fleeting behavior. It's a spiritual condition that the Holy Spirit will make you aware of if you remain sensitive to His whispers. This kind of person doesn't celebrate your growth or victories. They just cling to you for what they can take, not for who you are. I believe that many of us have encountered individuals like this, and if we take a moment to reflect, we can trace back to certain relationships where we felt drained, unseen, or even unappreciated. The Bible clearly speaks to this reality, especially in Proverbs 14 verse 20, where it states, "The poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich hath many friends." This verse gives us a hard-hitting truth. Favor attracts fakes, and abundance attracts attachments. The word attachments in this context implies people who are not truly invested in you, but only in what you can offer. This aligns perfectly with the reality of how opportunistic people function in our lives. They aren't present to build something with you. They're only around as long as you're providing something they desire. As soon as your circumstances change, so does their loyalty. One of the clearest examples of this is found in the Gospel of John, specifically John 6 verse 26. After Jesus had fed the 5,000, he noticed something alarming. "Ye seek me not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled." Jesus, in essence, was saying that the people didn't follow him because they recognized his divine power or because they truly believed in the message he was teaching. No, they followed him because he had given them something, food, sustenance, and that is all they cared about. When Jesus no longer offered them what they wanted, they drifted away. This is a stark warning for us today. It shows that there are people who will approach us not because they value us for who we are, but because of what they can receive. And as soon as they no longer receive, their loyalty fades. Take a moment to think back on some of the relationships you've had in your life. Have you ever found yourself giving and giving, only to realize that the moment you could no longer give, those same people vanished? That is the spirit of the opportunist at work. The Holy Spirit will often give us a sense of unease when we encounter such people. You might not always be able to put your finger on it, but you will feel drained after interacting with them. You'll notice how they act distant or detached when you need support. But when things are good, they're right there, smiling, praising, and seemingly showing affection. I've encountered such people in my own life, and I'm sure many of you have as well. There was once an individual who appeared to be my friend, always around when things were going well. They would call me, send me messages, and support me when I had good news to share. But when things became tough, when I faced trials and challenges, they disappeared. I tried reaching out, but my calls and messages went unanswered. This is the exact behavior that the Holy Spirit wants us to recognize and avoid. These people aren't rooted in a genuine relationship with us. They're simply clinging to what they can take from us. And when our seasons change, they disappear. The Holy Spirit speaks to us in those quiet moments, urging us to discern who is truly with us. This isn't just about emotional intelligence or reading social cues. It's about spiritual discernment. When you sense that something is off, that feeling of unease is not paranoia, it's protection. It's God warning you to step back and evaluate the motivations of those around you. It's a divine check that tells you, this person is here for what you have, not for who you are. Let me share with you a biblical story that underscores this principle. In the Old Testament, King Saul was initially very supportive of David, his younger servant. He saw David as a valuable asset, someone who could help him in his battles. But when David's fame began to grow, and when he became the victor in battles that Saul couldn't win, something shifted. Saul became jealous. The people started singing, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." This song ignited a fire in Saul's heart, and his relationship with David turned from mentorship to envy. Saul was no longer interested in David because of who David was. He was now threatened by David's success and sought to destroy him. This story is an example of how opportunistic people in our lives can shift from being supportive to being envious once they realize that we have something they cannot control or take from us. As you reflect on this, consider the relationships in your own life. Who is with you when things are tough? Who stands by you when you have nothing to offer? True loyalty, the kind that comes from God, isn't based on what someone can gain from you. It's rooted in unconditional support, not in seasons of abundance, but in times of trial. You'll know the difference when you look at how people behave in your moments of weakness and struggle. Those who are truly meant to be in your life won't disappear when you need them most. They will be there, quietly and faithfully standing by your side. The Holy Spirit will give you a sense of peace when you are surrounded by true friends, those who love you for who you are, not for what you can give them. On the other hand, you'll feel the unease, the discomfort, when the opportunists are near. It's not a coincidence. It's a divine signal meant to protect you from harm and to ensure that you only allow genuine people into your life. I believe that one of the most challenging aspects of discerning the opportunist is that they often come disguised as friends, colleagues, or even family. They know exactly what to say, how to act, and when to show up. But once the light fades and the gifts or blessings stop flowing, they pull back. If you've ever felt like someone only calls when they need something, or if you've noticed someone disappearing during your hard times, that's a sign from the Holy Spirit to step back and reassess the relationship. What is most important in these situations is to allow the Holy Spirit to guide you in your decisions. It's easy to feel guilty for setting boundaries or cutting people off, especially when they present themselves as in need. But true love, God's love, isn't about enabling harmful behavior. It's about protecting your peace and ensuring that those around you are genuinely contributing to your well-being, not draining you for their gain. So, how do we respond to this? First, acknowledge the warning signs. When you feel drained after a conversation or interaction, take a moment to reflect. Is this person truly supporting you, or are they taking from you? Second, set boundaries. You don't have to explain or justify your decisions. The Holy Spirit's guidance is enough. Lastly, trust that God will provide true, loyal relationships in your life. Those who are meant to walk with you through every season will remain with you, steadfast, unchanging, and loyal, no matter what. As we close this section, I urge you to take a moment of self-reflection. Think about the relationships you have. Are there opportunists in your life who only come around when things are good? Ask yourself if those relationships are healthy, if they're rooted in mutual respect, or if they're simply based on what you can offer. And most importantly, trust the Holy Spirit to guide you. He will never leave you blind to the truth. The second divine warning sign that the Holy Spirit reveals to us is the ungrateful spirit. An individual who benefits from your generosity and support but forgets who stood with them when no one else would. This is the person who, when times are tough, leans heavily on your kindness, your prayers, your sacrifices, and your presence. They take from you sometimes without a second thought, yet when the situation changes, when they no longer need you, they act as if you were never there. Gratitude, as we know, is a powerful force. It reveals the true heart of a person. And when that gratitude is absent, the Spirit alerts us to something that is deeply troubling. It's a spiritual condition that goes beyond mere emotional immaturity. The Holy Spirit will press on your spirit, showing you that this person is not genuinely invested in you. They are simply exploiting your goodness. The Bible speaks profoundly about the dangers of ungratefulness and how it can hinder our spiritual growth and emotional well-being. In 2 Timothy 3 verse 2, we are warned about people who are unthankful, among other traits. Ungratefulness is not just a negative behavior. It is a spirit that thrives in a heart that has become hardened and blind to the value of others. What's even more alarming is that this spirit, when unchecked, can spread and affect the relationships around you. People who are ungrateful will often cause you to feel drained, unappreciated, and invisible. They might take from you without ever acknowledging your efforts, and worse, they might even turn on you when they feel you can no longer give them what they want. I've seen this behavior manifest in many different forms throughout my life, both personally and in the lives of others. It's often subtle at first, but the longer you continue to give, the more apparent it becomes. One of the most heartbreaking experiences I've had with an ungrateful person involved a close friend who had gone through a tough period in their life. They were struggling financially, emotionally, and spiritually, and I, being a believer in supporting others in their time of need, stood by them. I offered my assistance, listened to their problems, and even gave financially when I could. For months, I was a pillar of support. Yet, when their circumstances improved, when they no longer needed my help, I was quickly forgotten. No gratitude, no acknowledgement, no simple thank you for the time and energy I had invested. Instead, they became distant and cold, as though the months of shared struggles had never happened. It wasn't just the lack of thanks that stung, but the absence of any acknowledgement of the sacrifice I had made. This, my friends, is the spirit of ingratitude. The Holy Spirit will often nudge you when you encounter such individuals, causing a disturbance in your peace. You may feel overlooked, drained, or unappreciated. And if you ignore these feelings, you will begin to tolerate behavior that is not healthy for your soul. The Bible is filled with examples of ungratefulness, but one of the most poignant is found in Luke 17 verse 17, where Jesus healed 10 lepers, yet only one returned to give thanks. Were there not 10 cleansed? But where are the 9? Jesus wasn't surprised by their healing. He was surprised by their lack of gratitude. Gratitude, in God's eyes, is a revelation of the heart. It shows where someone's heart truly lies. When someone cannot acknowledge your kindness, their lack of gratitude reveals a deeper spiritual issue. Jesus didn't just marvel at the fact that 10 people had been healed. He marveled that only one took the time to come back and say, "Thank you." It's not just about saying thank you. It's about recognizing that you are the one who has received a gift, that someone has sacrificed for your well-being. And when that recognition is absent, it's a sign of deeper issues at play, issues that can only be addressed by the Holy Spirit. You see, ingratitude is often a sign that someone is blind to their own need. It's easy to become so consumed by our own struggles and desires that we forget the ones who have helped us along the way. But true spiritual maturity comes when we recognize the blessings in our lives and take the time to express gratitude for those who have supported us. I've come to learn that the ungrateful spirit doesn't just affect the one who is ungrateful. It also affects the one who gives. If you continue to give to someone who never acknowledges your sacrifice, your spirit will begin to wither. You'll feel depleted, like your efforts are in vain. The Holy Spirit will warn you about these situations, showing you that you are enabling a toxic dynamic. It's easy to become blinded by your own sense of duty and love for others. But if you don't heed the Holy Spirit's warning, you may find yourself in a never-ending cycle of giving without receiving. There is nothing wrong with helping others. In fact, it's part of God's calling on our lives to serve those in need. But the Holy Spirit urges us to recognize when the relationship is no longer mutual, when the giving is no longer reciprocal, and when the ingratitude is starting to take its toll. One of the greatest lessons I've learned through encountering ungrateful people is the importance of setting boundaries. Love should not be about endless sacrifice without recognition or appreciation. True love is about balance. It's about giving when God leads, but also knowing when to step back when you're being taken advantage of. Gratitude is a key sign that someone values your presence in their life. When they can't even acknowledge the sacrifices you've made, it's time to reassess the relationship. The Holy Spirit will guide you in setting boundaries and showing you when to let go. If you find yourself constantly helping someone without receiving any form of gratitude or acknowledgement, it's a clear sign that you are in an unhealthy dynamic, and it's time to listen to the Holy Spirit's whisper and step back. As you reflect on this message, I want you to think about the people in your life who have benefited from your kindness, your prayers, and your support. Have they shown you the same level of gratitude? Have they acknowledged your sacrifice? Or have they simply moved on as if nothing ever happened? Remember that love is not about enabling others to take advantage of you. True love is about helping others to grow, but also ensuring that they don't drain you in the process. Take time to discern when someone is being ungrateful, and trust the Holy Spirit to show you the right course of action. You are not called to be a doormat. You are called to serve others with love, but you are also called to protect your peace and your spirit. Allow the Holy Spirit to guide you in setting boundaries and recognizing the signs of an ungrateful spirit. Just like Jesus marveled at the ingratitude of the 9 lepers, we must marvel at the way ungratefulness manifests in our own lives. And when we do, we can make better decisions about who we allow into our hearts and lives. Trust the Holy Spirit to guide you in this area. He will never lead you astray, and His guidance will always lead you to peace. The third warning sign that the Holy Spirit places in our path is the jealous companion. This is the person who, at one point, celebrated your achievements, cheered you on, and perhaps even supported your rise. But when your success and visibility grow, their support turns into something else: jealousy. Jealousy, often hidden behind a smile or a compliment, can silently erode a relationship and turn a companion into a competitor. When you ascend to higher levels, they begin to feel threatened, not by your actions but by your progress. They were fine when you were beneath them, when you were still working your way up, but now that you've started to climb, they feel insecure. They may smile and tell you how proud they are of you, but deep down, they can't handle your elevation. They struggle with your success because it reflects something they lack: peace, confidence, and perhaps even the courage to pursue their own dreams. The Holy Spirit often gives us an uncomfortable nudge in these situations, a feeling of unease that something is wrong even if the outward appearance seems fine. This jealousy doesn't always manifest in obvious ways, such as overt criticism or backhanded remarks. More often, it shows up in subtle shifts in behavior: quiet passive-aggressive comments, a lack of enthusiasm when you share your good news, or even a coldness when you succeed. These signs are not always easy to spot, especially when the person involved is someone you've trusted for a long time. We've all experienced that moment when we share a victory with someone, and instead of joy and celebration, we're met with silence or even a change in energy. These shifts may be imperceptible at first, but if you pay attention, the Holy Spirit will guide you in noticing them. It is essential to recognize these warning signs before they become toxic, as jealousy has the power to destroy relationships and rob you of your peace. A clear biblical example of jealousy is seen in the story of King Saul and David. In 1 Samuel 18 verses 7-9, the people began to sing that Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. Saul, who once mentored David, who was once his trusted servant, could no longer handle the praise that was given to David. The Bible tells us that from that day forward, Saul eyed David with jealousy. He wasn't just upset about what David had done. He was upset about the fact that David was gaining more favor and recognition than he was. Saul's jealousy grew, and rather than celebrating David's success, he sought to destroy him. The same thing happens in our lives. At first, people are supportive of us, but when we begin to succeed, especially if that success is more visible or seems to surpass theirs, the jealousy creeps in. This jealousy may not always be overt. Sometimes it's cloaked in compliments or the absence of acknowledgement when you reach milestones. But when you sense that something has shifted in a relationship after your success, when a person's smile no longer feels genuine or their words no longer seem sincere, take it as a sign. The Holy Spirit is warning you that their support might have been conditional, tied not to your worth as a person, but to how you fit into their life. Let's be honest. Jealousy can be hard to detect. We often don't want to believe that someone who has been by our side for so long could harbor feelings of envy. We dismiss it because we want to believe the best in people. But God, through the Holy Spirit, provides us with the gift of discernment. We don't need to rely solely on what others say to us. We can trust what the Holy Spirit reveals in our hearts. I've had moments in my own life where I noticed a shift in someone's attitude toward me as I began to experience success in certain areas of my life. At first, I couldn't pinpoint what had changed, but I knew that something was off. The same person who had cheered me on during my struggles now seemed distant, and every time I shared a good news story, the enthusiasm wasn't the same. It wasn't just that they didn't celebrate. It was the quiet shift in their tone, the reluctance to acknowledge my achievements. This is a clear sign that jealousy had begun to take root. As uncomfortable as it was to face this reality, I had to accept that this individual wasn't truly happy for me. They were threatened by my growth. Jealousy is an emotional response to someone else's success, and it's rooted in insecurity. But what's important to note is that jealousy isn't necessarily about what you've done wrong. It's a reflection of something deeper in the person who is jealous, something within them that is unresolved, something that lacks peace. And while we must exercise compassion toward those who struggle with jealousy, we must also protect ourselves from its toxic effects. It's essential to set boundaries with those who are showing signs of jealousy. This doesn't mean that we stop loving them or caring for them, but it does mean that we recognize that their jealousy is not about us. It's about them. And as long as they are in that state, they may try to undermine our joy and success. This is why the Holy Spirit's guidance is so important. He will warn us when a relationship is no longer healthy, when someone's jealousy is starting to interfere with our peace, and when we need to step back. As difficult as it may be to distance ourselves from someone who has been close to us, sometimes it's necessary to protect our spirit and preserve the joy that comes from seeing our own progress. The Holy Spirit's discernment is not meant to separate us from people who need our help. It's meant to protect us from people who are not genuinely for us. It's easy to think that we have to tolerate negative energy from others out of a sense of loyalty. But true loyalty to God means protecting the peace He has given us. A relationship that is founded on jealousy can never bring the fulfillment that a relationship based on genuine love and support can. This isn't to say that we won't face challenges in our relationships. No, it's about recognizing when someone's jealousy is a barrier to the growth and peace that God desires for us. Let's also remember that we don't have to fight jealousy with more jealousy. When jealousy arises in someone's heart, our response should always be love, understanding, and prayer. But we must also remember that there are times when we must distance ourselves in order to protect what God has given us. The Holy Spirit will help you navigate these tricky waters. You will know when the relationship needs to be adjusted. It may not be an immediate, loud shift, but a gentle nudge that tells you, this relationship needs to change. Don't ignore that. It's God's protection, and He is always guiding us toward peace and away from toxic situations. As we reflect on this, I encourage you to examine your relationships. Are there people in your life who have been supportive in the past but now seem to be bothered by your success? Are there subtle shifts in behavior or an unspoken tension when you achieve something great? Don't dismiss these feelings. Listen to the Holy Spirit's whisper. He is revealing to you what you might not be able to see on your own. Jealousy is often hidden beneath the surface, but the Holy Spirit's discernment will help you uncover it. And once you've recognized it, you can take the necessary steps to protect your peace. Always remember that you are not walking alone. The Holy Spirit is guiding you every step of the way, and His wisdom will lead you to the right decisions. Let go of the fear of losing a relationship that was built on jealousy, and trust that God will bring you relationships that will support and uplift you. Relationships where your success is celebrated, not feared. The fourth sign that the Holy Spirit warns us about is the sympathetic manipulator. Those who constantly present themselves as victims, using their struggles and crises as a way to gain attention, sympathy, and control. On the surface, they appear to be someone in need of help, someone who is constantly in distress, always facing some form of hardship or emotional turmoil. You might find yourself compelled to step in and offer your compassion, to be a listening ear, or to help them navigate their difficulties. There's nothing wrong with helping others, of course. In fact, we are called to bear one another's burdens and to show love and kindness to those in need. However, the sympathetic manipulator is different. They don't just want help, they want control. They prey on your compassion, draining you emotionally, while never truly changing or taking responsibility for their own actions. They thrive on your sympathy and create a dependency that makes it hard for you to walk away. The more you give, the more they take and the more they need. Their problems never seem to improve, and yet they are always in crisis, always reaching out, always asking for more. The Holy Spirit is keen to alert you to this type of person because, if left unchecked, the manipulator can rob you of your emotional and spiritual health. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you are simply being a good Christian, that you are being compassionate and kind by helping someone who is struggling. But as time goes on, you begin to feel a sense of exhaustion. You feel drained after spending time with them, as if they are constantly pulling from you but never giving back. This is not healthy, and it's not God's design for our relationships. We are meant to love and support one another, but not at the expense of our own well-being. The sympathetic manipulator's ultimate goal is not to heal or improve, but to keep you in a cycle of dependence, making you feel responsible for their emotions and their crises. They may create a false narrative of need, always portraying themselves as the victim, the one who has been wronged, the one who is misunderstood. And you, out of love or guilt, feel compelled to help. The Bible teaches us in 2 Corinthians 11 verses 14 to 15 that Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. This is a sobering reminder that not everyone who presents themselves as needing help is doing so with pure motives. Just because someone is crying out for help does not mean that they genuinely want change or healing. Sometimes, they are simply using your compassion to manipulate you into providing something they need, not necessarily physical help, but emotional control. I have witnessed this pattern in my own life and the lives of others. There was a time when I found myself deeply invested in a friendship with someone who always seemed to be going through some crisis. Every time I spoke with them, they were either dealing with a family issue, a financial struggle, or a personal loss. At first, I was sympathetic and eager to help. I offered advice, prayed with them, and helped in any way I could. However, as time passed, I started to realize that their crises never seemed to end. Each time one situation was resolved, another would pop up almost immediately. I began to feel emotionally drained. I started to notice that the more I gave, the less they took responsibility for their own life. Instead of making decisions or finding solutions, they would turn to me, expecting me to carry the weight of their burdens. I realized that, although I had good intentions, I had been manipulated into an emotional codependency. They weren't seeking true healing or support. They just wanted me to play the role of their emotional rescuer. This is a classic example of the sympathetic manipulator at work. They are often excellent at playing the victim, knowing just what to say and how to act to draw you into their narrative. And because you care about them, because you genuinely want to help, you find it difficult to set boundaries or say no. But the Holy Spirit is faithful to reveal these manipulative behaviors to us, and He will give us the discernment to recognize when someone's needs are becoming emotionally exploitative. The key to breaking free from the grip of the sympathetic manipulator is to establish boundaries. Compassion and empathy are essential, but we must never allow ourselves to be emotionally drained in the process. Jesus Himself showed us the importance of boundaries. In Matthew 7 verse 6, He said, "Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine." This is not about being unkind or unloving. It's about recognizing that there are times when we must protect our emotional and spiritual resources. Just as pearls are valuable and should not be cast before those who do not appreciate them, our time, energy, and compassion are valuable gifts that should be stewarded wisely. The sympathetic manipulator is a master at creating emotional chaos, and their tactics can often leave you feeling guilty for not giving more. They may make you feel as though you are abandoning them or being selfish for needing space, but this is just another form of manipulation. The Holy Spirit will give you the strength to set firm boundaries and the wisdom to know when to walk away from a toxic situation. It is important to remember that you are not responsible for someone else's emotional well-being. It is not your job to fix someone's life or to carry their emotional burdens indefinitely. You are called to love and support others, but you must also take care of your own heart and soul. If you find yourself constantly giving without receiving anything in return, or if you feel like you are being emotionally manipulated, listen to the still, small voice of the Holy Spirit. He is warning you that the relationship is becoming unhealthy, and He is calling you to protect your peace. There is also the aspect of enabling behavior. The sympathetic manipulator often thrives on the kindness and empathy of others because they have learned that it works. They know how to push your emotional buttons to get what they want. But what they fail to recognize is that their manipulation ultimately prevents them from growing or taking responsibility for their own life. When we enable this behavior, we are not helping them. We are preventing them from learning how to stand on their own feet. The Holy Spirit urges us to love others, but also to let go of the desire to control or fix them. Each person is responsible for their own life and decisions, and as much as we may want to help, we cannot live their lives for them. So how do we deal with a sympathetic manipulator in our lives? First, recognize the signs. Are they constantly in crisis, always seeking your help, but never taking responsibility for their own issues? Are you feeling drained and emotionally exhausted after helping them? Are they playing the victim card to gain sympathy, but never making an effort to change? These are all signs that you may be dealing with a manipulator. Next, set boundaries. It's important to love and care for people, but not at the expense of your own well-being. Establish limits on what you can give and when you can give it. Say no when you need to and don't feel guilty for doing so. And finally, trust the Holy Spirit. He will guide you in knowing when to step in and when to step back. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their actions so that they can grow and learn. As we reflect on this, let's be mindful of our own hearts. Are we being manipulated by someone's emotional needs? Or are we allowing the Holy Spirit to guide us in loving them while also maintaining healthy boundaries? Compassion is essential, but it must never come at the cost of your own peace and well-being. The Holy Spirit will help us discern the difference and guide us in making the right choices. The final warning sign that the Holy Spirit reveals to us is the charmer with no covenant. This is the person who possesses all the right words, who can charm you with their smiles, compliments, and flattering speech. But when it comes to true loyalty, commitment, and sacrifice, they are nowhere to be found. The charmer knows exactly how to win your trust, how to make you feel special, and how to get close to you, often under the guise of friendship, partnership, or even love. But once they have secured their place in your life, you realize that they are not truly invested in you. They don't have your best interests at heart. Their words are sweet, their actions smooth, but their loyalty is as shallow as a puddle. This type of person often uses charm as a mask to hide their true intentions. They may pretend to be your closest ally, your best friend, or even a mentor, but the moment things get difficult, when real sacrifice is required, they disappear. You'll find that their commitment to you is only skin deep, and when it's time to walk through fire together, they're nowhere to be found. The Holy Spirit warns us about these kinds of individuals because they are deceptive. Their charm and charisma can be dangerously persuasive, and without discernment, we can easily fall into their trap. They will make you believe that they have your back, that they are loyal and devoted to you, but in reality, they are only there for what they can gain from the relationship. And when the tide turns, when you need them most, they will vanish just like that. It's not that they are evil, but their motives are impure. They are not there for the long haul. They are there for the moment, and once they've gotten what they wanted, they will be gone. In this world, we all encounter people who have a natural ability to charm, to make others feel special, to make them feel like they are the center of attention. This is a gift, but when it's used for selfish gain, it becomes a tool of manipulation. The charmer with no covenant will use this gift to create a false sense of closeness, making you believe that they are deeply invested in you. They may be the ones who show up when everything is easy, who shower you with praise and affection, but the moment your life gets complicated or difficult, they will be the first to bail. They won't stick around to help you face adversity because they were never truly committed in the first place. The Holy Spirit will reveal the true nature of these people if you listen closely. You will begin to feel a sense of unease, a subtle but noticeable shift in your spirit when you are around them. This feeling is the Holy Spirit's way of telling you that something is wrong, that this person may not be as loyal as they seem. The Bible warns us about this in Proverbs 26 verse 25, which says, "When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart." This verse is a sobering reminder that not all who speak kindly or flatter us are doing so with pure intentions. Just because someone tells you what you want to hear doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. In fact, the opposite is often true. These people are not interested in the truth. They are only interested in what they can gain from the relationship. When their true nature is revealed, it can be devastating. It can feel like a betrayal, especially if you've trusted them deeply. But the Holy Spirit is faithful to warn us before things escalate too far. It's important to understand that charm is not a fruit of the Spirit. It's a skill that can be manipulated for personal gain. Just because someone is charming doesn't mean they are trustworthy. Their words may sound sweet, but their actions will eventually reveal who they truly are. One of the most significant ways the charmer with no covenant can hurt us is by leading us into false security. They make us feel special, like we are valued, and as a result, we let our guard down. We open ourselves up to them, thinking that they are someone we can rely on, someone who will always be there for us. But as soon as we need them the most, they will pull away. I've experienced this in my own life. There was a time when I was involved with someone who seemed like the perfect friend. They always had the right things to say, always made me feel like I was important to them. But when I went through a difficult time, when I needed support the most, they were nowhere to be found. They were always busy, always had an excuse for why they couldn't be there for me. It wasn't until later that I realized that their words had never matched their actions. They were only around when it was convenient for them. When things got hard, they disappeared. This is the hallmark of the charmer with no covenant. They only show up when everything is easy. They don't stick around for the hard work, the sacrifices, or the trials. They are not willing to walk through fire with you. They only want to be around when the fire is pleasant. The Holy Spirit will expose these individuals in your life. He will give you discernment to see beyond their charm, to recognize the emptiness behind their words. It's not about judging them. It's about protecting your heart. God has called us to love others, to show grace, but He has also called us to be wise and discerning in our relationships. We must not let charm cloud our judgment. The Bible teaches us in 1 John 4 verse 1, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God." This verse is a call to test the spirits around us, to examine the motives and intentions of those who claim to be our friends or supporters. Just because someone speaks well doesn't mean they are aligned with God's will for our lives. And just because someone is charming doesn't mean they have a covenant with us. They may be there for the moment, but they are not there for the long haul. So, how do we deal with the charmer with no covenant? First, we need to recognize the signs. Are they always present when everything is going well but vanish when times get tough? Do they speak kindly but fail to take any real action to back up their words? Do they only show up when they need something, but disappear when you need them? These are the signs that the Holy Spirit is trying to show you. Second, we need to establish boundaries. The charmer with no covenant will try to take advantage of your kindness, but we don't have to let them. Love doesn't mean tolerating toxic relationships. It means setting healthy boundaries that protect your peace and your well-being. Third, we need to remember that true loyalty and commitment are built over time. The people who truly love us and have a covenant with us are the ones who will be there when things get difficult, when we are in the fire. They don't disappear when it gets hard. They stay with us through thick and thin. Finally, we need to trust the Holy Spirit's guidance. He will reveal the truth to us, even when it's hidden behind a smile or flattering words. Trust the discernment He gives you, and don't let charm lead you astray. The Holy Spirit will help you separate the genuine from the counterfeit, the loyal from the manipulative. As we reflect on this message, I encourage you to examine the relationships in your life. Are there people who charm you with their words but fail to back up their words with actions? Are there individuals who show up when everything is easy but disappear when things get tough? The Holy Spirit will give you the wisdom to discern their true motives. And when He does, trust that He is protecting you from harm. True covenant relationships are built on love, sacrifice, and mutual respect. They are not based on charm or superficial flattery. So, let's walk in the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, trusting that He will guide us to the right people and away from the ones who are only there for what they can gain. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to take a moment to reflect on the powerful lessons we've learned together. We've explored 5 divine warning signs that the Holy Spirit uses to protect us from harmful relationships. Relationships that can drain us, deceive us, and ultimately hinder our spiritual growth. From the opportunist who only loves when there's something to gain, to the ungrateful spirit that forgets your kindness, to the jealous companion who can't handle your success, to the sympathetic manipulator who preys on your compassion, and finally, the charmer with no covenant who offers sweet words but no loyalty. These are the people the Holy Spirit warns us about. But here's the good news. God has given us the gift of discernment. Through the Holy Spirit, we are not left to navigate the complexities of relationships alone. He speaks to us in the stillness, gently guiding us, protecting us from those who would seek to exploit or deceive us. If you found yourself in any of these situations, remember that God is always with you, and He will never leave you to face these challenges alone. He's here to help you discern the truth and to lead you to healthy, genuine relationships, those that honor Him and honor you. Now, as we close, I want to encourage you to reflect on your own relationships. Take a moment to ask yourself, are there people in my life who exhibit these warning signs? Are there relationships I need to reevaluate, set boundaries in, or even walk away from for my own peace and growth? The Holy Spirit is here to guide you, and if you trust His wisdom, He will lead you to the right people, those who are truly meant to walk alongside you in your journey of faith and purpose. If you found this message valuable, I urge you to share it with those you love. Help spread the wisdom of God's protection and guidance. Subscribe to God's Advice for more insightful content that will encourage, equip, and empower you in your walk with God. Don't forget to like this video and share it with others who need to hear these important lessons. By subscribing, you'll be joining a community that seeks to walk in the truth, to grow in faith, and to be led by the Holy Spirit in every area of life. Remember, this channel, God's Advice, is here to equip you with the wisdom and guidance that can transform your life. So, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this message with your friends and family. Let's spread God's wisdom together and build a community grounded in faith, discernment, and love. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Until next time, stay blessed, stay discerning, and keep seeking God's guidance in everything you do. God's Advice is here to help you navigate life with divine wisdom, because His advice is always the best advice.